All right, we're live.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to the streams. We got started a little late. Had some trouble organizing music today, but well, it's not all right. But we figured something out.
Can't believe it. They cracked down on it finally.
It's so dumb.
It really is.
It really is. People just want to like chat and listen to music while in Discord, you know. But YouTube's like, we can't have people listening off our platform and not running ad revenue.
It feels like so backwards because you play a song for your buddies in like Discord. They're like, hey, I like this song. I'm gonna listen to it on my own now. Very basic word of mouth advertising, but no.
Yeah, well, it's not even it's just YouTube. YouTube wants the ad revenue. They don't even care for the music. But the thing is, right? It's like the Discord bots are only really working for people who want to go through the effort of putting the bot on their channel in the first place and make a channel. So it's not like people are just going into their own like private channels on Discord and listening to music or anything like that. They'll still probably just go to YouTube to listen when they're by themselves.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was the
next?
problem.
What's next? They're gonna crack down on people connecting their YouTube to speaker and playing it at like a party.
Right, yeah.
All those like, free listens. That's not okay.
All those free listens. Well, I mean, to be fair, music artists are kind of like that too. It's like, well, yeah, that was like the big thing when downloading music back in the day.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's just like, you wouldn't download a car, would you? And it's just like, yeah, I would. Fuck yeah, I would download a car.
100%.
What are you talking about? But no, it's just like the thing about music is music's great for communal stuff, right? Why make that so impossibly hard?
It's super weird. Making something annoying
here today. Yeah.
Making something annoying just to possibly get like a few more bucks.
Yeah, right. And given the YouTube split, right, they don't get that much per listen. It stacks up because of the millions of people watching all the time, yeah.
Yeah.
But they'll still make a ton of money regardless. Shit, YouTube makes money on stuff that the content creators don't even.
Yeah, running ads on everything, even if they ain't monetized.
Yeah, so it's like, I feel like you're stealing some bucks from people, so you might as well let us listen to music on fucking Discord. Shit.
Yeah, it's mega lame.
Silly. But yeah, it's oh goodness. It's been a week and a half for me. Been so busy and just dealing with stress and personal life stuff. And like to like make things even worse, we're gonna have an apartment walkthrough next Friday.
Oh shit.
Which is annoying. I hate apartment complexes in general. Most of them are run pretty shittily, and they keep bumping up your rent for nothing. Like, they don't do anything different. They add no service, nothing. At least it could spend some money on some things to justify rent increases, but
yeah, just suddenly same service, more money.
Well, and like we got our rent increase twice in the same year.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
It had to be like, every like new lease or every year.
No, well, I mean,
oh my God.
It's every new lease in our lease period. They did it like 10 months, and our lease is 9 months.
Huh.
So It's just annoying. It's annoying because it's like, okay, well now I guess I gotta clean up my apartment and not look like I'm trying to trash the place. And it's just people walking into your house, you know, uninvited, pretty much.
Yeah, which is always just annoying and weird. Like people poking around your space.
Yeah. And it's like, if you work at that time, they'll just walk into your house regardless. They got the keys.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really annoying.
I really hate like I lived at a place in Spokane for 2 years. Never had anyone come in to like walk through our apartment or nothing.
Yeah.
They were also better run and weren't shitty, and they didn't bump our rent up like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But here, it's just terrible. So that's been a stressor mixed in with a bunch of other stuff. It's just,
Yeah.
Would you bet a few $1,000s that you could sink an 8-foot
Certainly sounds like lame as fuck. Just to deal with a bunch of that stuff.
Camaro with 1,000 horsepower? If you bet $2 million,
but things are getting back on track. Videos will be coming out this week.
Hell yeah.
Honestly, I was going to release a video today, but I just ran out of time. But
Fair.
I was up for like 20 hours yesterday before I went to bed.
Shit, dude.
Well, I had to prep the Blades in the Dark game and learn that system again.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I recorded and setting up my script for the next class build. So
What's your next class build if you want to leak?
sure, it's called Dark Solace, and it's a cleric build. And I wanted to make playing a cleric, like a healer bot cleric, more interesting. So I designed a cleric build completely designed around nerfing enemies as much as possible, so that you don't have to heal your teammates as much.
Don't have to heal your teammates when the enemies aren't doing damage.
Yeah. Well, it's like use of the darkness spell, blindness, rave enfeeblement. Just making enemies not hit, less likely to hit, slightly reduced damage, and then, you know, you can heal if you want to when the time comes, and healing in Pathfinder is really strong.
Oh yeah, I mean there's actual methods of healing, like for good amounts with your actions or your items. You know, health potions actually are worth something. The heal spell is cracked. That one spell Suzanne has on Tuesday, the you get the 4 instances of healing. You get to pick which one you get.
Yeah.
Like there's so many good ones, and then that's not even bringing in combat medicine.
Yeah.
Like
it's
being
all really
a healer being a healer is like very easy and sustainable, and worthwhile.
Yeah.
So that sounds like a fun build. If I had to play a healer support character, I feel like that's the method I'd go. I like the idea of supporting your teammates by making it so like, yeah, I'll have to heal you less if I make it so the enemies cannot hit you.
Yeah, pretty much. And not only that, but like one thing I see a lot of the time are people who say, a lot of the time when I play, I just kind of pick healer because no one else does.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I mean, I like healing personally, but let me make a build that is the healer character for the party that actually has a lot more to offer in that regard.
A healer that you'd pick because you want to play it, not because you have to.
Mm-hmm. And another thing as well is it goes into Spell Trickster a little bit, so you get Siphoning Touch, which allows you to use Vampiric Touch on people, and you can transfer the healing you would get as temporary HP to someone else.
Oh. Damn, that's fun.
Mm-hmm. And then mix that in with either a Wand of Extending or multi-classing into like Wizard to get Extend spell. You can do Vampiric Touch at a distance and then heal someone for the healing, so you become essentially like a barrier healer.
Yeah,
And
damn.
Vampiric Touch does damage. So you can do
True.
damage and heal or reduce damage at the same time.
That do be my main issue with playing healer. All this healing business all seems so cool, but like, no, I want to like, fight. I want to be like helpful on that front too.
Well, it's like, it's the inevitable math that comes behind encounters, which is the longer the enemy is alive, the less likely you're going to win.
Yeah.
So, dealing damage gets the enemy deader quicker so that you're more likely to win. Healing just prolongs the battle, but it makes it so you don't lose. But it doesn't help you win, necessarily. It just prevents you from losing.
Yeah. We saw that firsthand in against our fight against Brainmaster.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of made the fight really long rather than winning it.
Yep. So, it's definitely a situation that damage is always desirable.
Yeah.
Survivability comes second, only because if you kill the enemy first, you win and you don't have to worry about surviving anymore. So there's some kind of cutoff point where you don't need any more healing because the enemy will be dead.
Yeah.
And that's inevitable. That can't change no matter how you run encounters in any game system. It's just other game systems will make healing more necessary.
True. I think it's the thing that Laura Bailey pointed out during like Critical Role during season 2. Like that sometimes as a cleric it is a better option to do damage or like not heal. Because, but that's because 5e has a really bad ping pong problem for like being alive.
D&D 5e, well, so you know what they could do to solve it? All D&D has to do to solve it is make healing stronger.
Yeah.
And then just make death saving throws something that can't be healed out of.
Yeah, just make it so, your cure wounds doesn't just do like, one cure wounds for own spell slot. Here's 1d8. That's, that'll help. Meanwhile, Pathfinder's like, you do like 2d8 and then add 34 HP to that.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's really like it's the thing that throws me off every time. Like whenever I get healed in Pathfinder, because I'm so used to like 5es. Because I do play I do play 5e like pretty often every week, and so then whenever like oh yeah that seems about fine, and it's like all right you heal for 70 HP. It's like all right.
It's like
damn, okay.
That's almost all my HP.
Huh?
And you know what's better? The clerics get free healing slots.
Yeah. You can just do that, and it's like, damn, all right, and you can still cast other spells. All right, hell yeah.
Yo, Dagon, what's up?
Hey.
Yeah, it's insane. It really makes playing a healer feel good. I really wish... One of the things I love in Final Fantasy XIV is I like playing barrier healers because how they work more or less is it's preemptive healing. You heal a shield onto an ally, and then that essentially makes them tankier for the next big hit, And it does offer some healing as well, so if they are missing health, it also restores that. But I enjoy setting it up so like you give that temporary HP, and then the tank who would have died doesn't die because they essentially had 150% of their hit points, and that feels good. It feels good because it feels like you are preventing something very terrible from happening, and making your allies more difficult to kill. I don't like normal healing because it's very reactionary.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much like, oh, you got heal or you got damage, so I guess now I'll heal you. And if your allies aren't taking that much damage, well, then you're not really healing, so you do other things, which isn't bad. But when you enjoy healing, that's kind of something that you're just like, well, I'll just keep attacking and using my not quite as effective attack skills until someone gets damaged, and then I can save their life. Yeah. You know.
Honestly, like, now that you're saying that, that does sound like a very, like, video game MMO thing. I don't know if I've seen that a lot in, like, other tabletop games. Like, that style of healing? Because I know there's ways to give out temp HP, but it's, like, pitiful temp HP. Like, oh, guys, we'll give you all a speech, and I'll give you 4 temp HP. Whoa! Like, that kind of stuff.
It's that kind of stuff, and then also on top of that, it's, yeah, like you said, never enough. It's like, heck, even regeneration. It's like, oh, you restore 10 HP per round. It's like, okay, so now when they get really damaged, they can get 10 HP back at least. It's like, you're still going to need healing with that.
Yeah, I love that. Like, yay, you negate, like, half of the damage of this encounter. But, you know, you're still being damaged for more than 10 HP each turn.
Well, I mean, that's fine. Like, if it makes it... But the thing is like, damage is rarely ever, like, that little. It's like, okay, you get 10 HP back, but at the level you get, like, a 10 HP regen, your ally takes, you know, 30, 40 damage, and it's like, okay.
It's not enough healing to matter. It's because, like, that's just, you know, the problem with some healing stuff. Like, yeah, I could... The resources to spend to heal you to, like, a good point, I can do it, like, once. And then I'm kind of, like, screwed, and I just have to give everyone, like, little pity heals. Not in 2E.
Yeah.
I would play a cleric in Pathfinder. I would not play a healer in 5e.
Oh no. Well, it's also because in 5e, like, healing is just so ineffective.
Yeah.
The only good healing is bringing someone back up from being down. That's it. And that's why Healing Word is literally like the strongest healing spell in the game. Because it's a bonus action ranged heal that can bring someone back up.
Fall down, jump right back up, and then, you know, immediately swing and get down again.
Yep. Yeah. It's really bad, but in Pathfinder, it's like, the healer heals you. You just restored 2/3 of your HP, and you're good for another couple rounds.
Yeah.
And it's not even like that broken, because encounters can be designed around that, you know. You want your players to sweat, you know. You can do it. Even the fight with Brandmaster, eventually he would have started hurting you guys and beating you because you couldn't take him down, and he could just take his time trying to annihilate you all.
Yeah, eventually we would have just straight up lost. But, you know, we prolonged the fight because of it.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just one of those things of like, I do enjoy when a game makes healing feel really good and feel very impactful.
Yeah.
Because I like supporting. I mean, I like doing damage too. Honestly, at this point, I think over the years, I really just have learned to enjoy all kinds of positions when it comes to RPG stuff in general. Because
honestly, I wish I could do that.
Because, like, being the tank that can't go down feels good.
Yeah.
Eating hits that would down your allies feels good. Because it makes you feel powerful. Because, like, I couldn't be downed by that. And doing high damage feels good. And everyone likes that one, so, you know.
Yeah. I think the feel of being a tank in Anima, I think is probably the most fun I've had being a tank.
Yeah.
Because there's something different about... Because, like, the way Devin puts it is really fun. Of, like, oh, you take 300 damage. Everyone's like... And you're like, nah, I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm still
That's nothing. Yeah, like, I'm fine. And, like, was that even a crit? No. Or, like, the fact of, like, you take... Alright, you get hit with this, and it's like, okay, I negate most of that because of your armor. it feels really good.
Well, yeah.
Not bad again.
The big thing I think a lot of tabletops do wrong is they don't make armor give you damage reduction.
Mm-hmm.
And so being a tank equates to like avoiding damage rather than negating damage.
Yeah,
in which
it
case
forces you to play a dodge tank as like a dude in like plate mail.
Kind of, yeah. It feels like it. And it always feels better when you play a game where you get hit by an attack, but it feels like it does nothing to you.
Yeah. It's like Barbarian. Like playing a Barbarian, you really feel that.
Yeah, Barbarian in 5e especially, I think, does it really, really well.
Yeah, where it feels like, oh, yeah, no, I essentially have double the health if we're fighting standard stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Unless, you take Path of the Bear Totem and all that.
Well, yeah. In Pathfinder, they don't really have damage reduction, really. They have some of it, but it's really not heavily used, which is unfortunate. But
that's something I've at least noticed. Like, there's damage reduction, like resistance, but like it's very minimal. Where it's like you take like I think the highest I've seen in like character creation is like 5.
For a level 1, no, there's no damage resistance. You can get it, I think, at level 9 is when.
I mean, like just in as playing, like the highest I've seen in like my options as like a character selection, not like an item or anything like that, was a 5 resistance to something. I think there's a tiefling one that gives you that. Like you can get a resistance to like 1 element.
And that's fair, Dead Phoenix. Shield block is really good. I thoroughly enjoy shield block. It makes using a shield feel good.
It is on champion though.
No, shield block is anyone who has a shield who has the feat. Fighter gets shield block. Druid gets shield block, actually.
Okay, my feet.
Magus
my opinion of the feet just dropped. Alright, okay, you're gonna raise it up a little bit.
And then it's a general feat.
Okay.
And cleric, yeah, war cleric. Or no, I think any cleric.
That's fair then.
But yeah, it's just like damage negation feels good.
Yeah.
Damage avoidance can feel good, but it doesn't feel the same thing, I feel like.
No. Because like there's a thing of playing a dodge tank, and that can be like so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really like that in like some JRPG stuff. But like yeah, no, I wouldn't want that in like my tabletop because it doesn't feel like I'm doing anything. It just feels like, oh, they're failing, I'm not succeeding.
Yeah, that's a
which
really good
is
way to
not
put it.
not a fun feeling where you are living because something else is like failing. That's the reason, like the same reason in like Payday 2, I don't like dodge builds. It feels like the game is allowing me to live, I'm not outplaying anything.
Yeah.
But damage reduction does make it feel like I am physically stopping this from happening. So you feel like a lot cooler.
Yeah,
it's a whole different vibe.
It's so different. I definitely feel like my favorite playstyle in general is utility characters. I like characters that allow me to solve problems in unique ways.
Yeah.
And to create situations that make the game feel very good and unique and dynamic. And it's something that really only exists in tabletop, because in normal JRPGs, well, there are some utility builds which are mostly like buff style builds or anything like that. It doesn't feel like you do anything. You're just tossing buffs on that make everyone else feel stronger.
Yeah.
And in like tabletop D&D path, like I loved when we played Out of the Abyss. I played a utility wizard. He had almost no real blastiness to him.
Not really.
And it felt so good to just have an answer to any problem.
You really did just have like just any weird situation. Like, all right, well, I got something for this. Like spells that I've never seen used effectively.
Like there was bringing Globagool back from non-existence. He didn't even die. He just no longer was intelligent. And it was just like, all right, we're going to kill him. We're going to reincarnate him. And then I'm going to use this weird artifact I found in conjunction with one of my spells to try to download as much memory into this new body that has no brain as possible.
That's a fair move on your GM's part.
Yeah, Sparkling Targe. I love Sparkling Targe Magus. I find that I end up using it a lot more than some of the other ones. And the other ones are really good. But that only tells you how good Sparkling Targe feels.
Yeah. All of the Magus like stuff, like every like style they get, they're all so cool. I love Magus. Though, yeah, I think I mean we've definitely had this conversation before. I'm 100% a DPS man. I think it's because of the games I play. Where like my favorite games are the ones where you feel like a true one-man army in something. Like I love that. Like just off the top of my head, like Yakuza, Devil May Cry, Titanfall, like all of those games, you're just like, all right, we have one guy, deal with the problem, and it's this person where like you can just go into a combat situation and be totally fine, no matter what happens in it. I think that is my favorite form of like media. So yeah, I want to do that in tabletop. I have exceptions, of course, because there always should be an exception, but that's the style I like.
Yeah, and for sure. And you want to feel like effective, and there's nothing more effective than just wiping out a whole bunch of enemies, right?
Yeah, and it's we saw how effective a solid DPS was Tuesday with Everett. God damn.
Yeah, man kept killing people before his second slice in the double slice.
So funny. It's like, yeah, I think I got a pretty good DPS, but
Well, yeah, I mean, one, Everett's a fighter, but two,
of course.
Well, yeah, no, it's mostly just Everett was a fighter, because a lot of those he beat it by like 1 or 2 points.
Yeah, because you get that +2.
And fighter, I mean, that's what fighter does,
Yeah.
In fact, the archetype dedication I did I just recorded the other day, I need to get out. The Dandy dedication was very interesting, because what Dandy does is it's a social archetype dedication. It's all about your character becomes like a social magnate in a sense. You are really good at deception. You have good society. You can get into any party. You can prevent your allies from fucking up social situations. You can use deception for like a bunch of different normal skill checks. Like you can fake it till you make it at like earn an income. You can just like get a job and use your deception instead. And I was like, picking up just the base dedication of Dandy can make any fighter character way more than just a fighter. Because a lot of the Dandy's dedication feats as well, or archetype feats, are skill feats. So you don't even need to use any more of your class feats to get all the extra stuff.
I do think it's a really good point. I can say, I guess I am a healer in our tabletop games.
Why is that?
Because I am mitigating future damage by killing the problem. It's a very good point in chat. I forget, what does Organ Sight do again? I know it's like kick ass. I just haven't read it in a while.
Organ Sight allows you to make a medicine check, and if you succeed, you get extra precision damage.
True.
Because you get a vision to see their organs.
Yeah, no, that does sound dirty.
Organ Sight's really good. Organ Sight was really good in 1E. It hasn't been as prevalent in this edition because it's just a primal spell now, rather than like a spell that a lot of other classes got access to. Like Ranger can't really get it as easily anymore as they used to.
I imagine that was extra dirty on Ranger.
It was, especially Slayers.
Yeah.
One thing I really did like about first edition Pathfinder was they had a lot of classes that were designed from the ground up as mixed classes.
Yeah.
The Slayer was a Ranger fighter hybrid class. And they had a bunch of classes like that, but in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, I really love the archetypes, especially if you use the bonus archetype rule, which I recommend everyone does,
Honestly.
because it makes it, if you're a fighter who only really can fight, that's the thing about fighter. Fighter doesn't offer much else outside of combat. They just don't have class features that revolve around doing that at all. And while people are like, yeah, but you could invest your skill feats, it's like, well, yeah, kind of. You can still get some skill feats to make your fighter do some extra stuff, but you really don't offer that much. You go super into like recall knowledge, like Devin did with his character. Cool. He does have this purpose of being really good at offering extra utility in combat. But there's still a lot of situations where even Devin's fighter, which is a very like bard fighter hybrid for recall knowledge on everything, still can't really solve a lot of situations regardless. He just knows enemy weaknesses. That's really what he does. But like I said, something like the Dandy dedication is really good because then your character becomes a face, and a really good face. And something I also said in the video, one of their abilities called Party Crasher allows you, without even making any checks or rolls, allow you and your allies to get into any social gathering.
Ooh.
As long as the said gathering has catering or is relatively public, you can just get into it.
Huh.
And if you're no longer in a city setting, you can retrain out of the skill feat and pick up another more relevant skill feat until you go back to a town where you can just train back into it again.
That's, I mean, also the thing you mentioned before, being able to prevent like your party from fucking up a social situation, that's big.
Yeah, it's something that like it allows your fighter to become a face, and all you have to do is invest in diplomacy a little. You know what's funny? The Dandy dedication just requires the diplomacy to be trained, and then it uses diplomacy for nothing else. All its other feats and abilities are based on either deception or society.
Interesting.
It's very weird.
Also, like, I do want to mention before we go too far in, you absolutely did just blow my mind with the whole like, with like that realization of like Pathfinder 1. Yeah, that's how those classes work. I didn't know how to describe it. Like when I'm playing when I'm playing Wrath of the Righteous, where I'm like, these do just feel like subclasses, like that they made a class around.
Yep, nope, they're just hybrid classes designed to do two things at once.
That makes so much sense. I was just reeling from that. I'm like, holy shit, it all makes sense.
Yeah, but they improved how multi-classing works in 2nd edition, so now they don't need those classes anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It does. I feel like there's a lot more variability and maneuverability, like in 2E's design.
Yeah, because like if you want to be a Slayer, you could just be a Ranger, or you would probably be a Fighter, and then you would just multi-class archetype into Ranger and pick up Ranger feats. And then you get to keep the high combat ability of a Fighter, but you have the other dynamics that a Ranger brings. And that's kind of how Slayer worked. And the Skald was a Barbarian Bard.
The one that always threw me for a loop was Blood Rager in 1E. So I was like, that sounds so sick. And I'm like, this doesn't feel like what I picture a Blood Rager to be.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the Blood Rager.
I just remember, and like same with Slayer, where like I was not piecing together. I was like, this is like, I was like trying to figure out like what is the niche here. So like in my latest playthrough, I'm playing an Inquisitor, which I'm absolutely loving. I really like how Inquisitor feels.
I want them to bring Inquisitor back.
I get what you're talking about now. Like I'm like, yeah, no, Cam said he likes Inquisitor. I don't know, fully understand what that is. Playing through it, I'm like, no, this is sick. I want to do this in 2E.
Yeah,
I completely agree. I've taken the Inquisitor pill. I completely agree now.
Inquisitor's so good. I love
so cool.
Playing like you're essentially like a ranger paladin kind of character.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways. And your ability to brand enemies to gain special effects against them or to give yourself blessings to make yourself stronger. It's just so cool, and this is something that doesn't exist in Pathfinder 2e currently.
Yeah, because like I really like the picking a. Granted, I don't know if other classes do this or 2e stuff. I've looked into some stuff. I like the selection of like, all right, if you are evil or chaotic, like I'm going to do more damage against you. Like I'm specially trained to kill these things. It feels like because the thing I did in my first Wrath of the Righteous, I want like the vibe of like my entire shtick is to wipe out the demon threat. I want to do this, and it feels like Inquisitor is actually giving me the tools to do so a lot better than my previous build. So I'm actually enjoying this playthrough a lot better because I feel like my character's more effective. Because my guy just kept dying. I was like, man, I really just fucking this up, huh? Like my weird Hell Knight Barbarian build. But like this is so much better.
Yeah, I'm so sad because I really love my idea of the Rune Lord Abjuration Hell Knight like wizard build, the Hell Knight Signifier wizard, who is just you're a Hell Knight Signifier that wears super heavy armor, and just you have all these really good shield and defensive spells to make you and your party like nearly unkillable, and most of the really good abjuration spells are just not in the game. It's very tragic.
That's sad. Also, yeah, it does look like Blood Rager is a sorcerer barb, and they are disgusting.
Yeah, that's what I saw here. Yeah. It's that's what I thought it was, but I honestly am not super duper familiar with it. But yeah,
that's fair.
I that's what I thought they were.
That's what threw me off when I was reading about it. I was like, this is a very interesting abilities, and I just kept like I just went past it. So I was like, because I saw Blood Rager and I'm like, ooh, that sounds fun. Sounds like something I'd like, and it wasn't exactly what I thought it was. Though, granted, that sounds dirty. Like, rage and haste at the same time. Oh boy.
Yeah. I mean, God, in our Monday game, I'm playing a Magus, and I just hit 7th level spellcasting.
Ooh,
so I can now cast 7th level haste, which allows me to haste everyone on our team.
Oh no. Poor
so
Suzanne.
You can imagine Suzanne's been having a hard time.
It sounds like it. Y'all have the most like annoying like party comp ever. Like I fully like sympathize. It is so funny.
It's so good.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good tool to have.
It is, yeah. Being able to, especially our team, which we're very just martially focused, so allowing all of us to get an extra striker stride in every round.
Yeah, all you like your party of bullies.
Yeah, it really makes it rough.
I will say, whenever I picture combats, I do picture that one Jujutsu Kaisen fight, like the 1v2 against like the weird homunculus making guy.
Oh,
where it's just,
that
like, one. There's no inch, and it's just like constantly, no matter where you are, you're getting punched.
I keep thinking the one with Toto and
fair
Itadori against
Hanami. Yeah, they both have the same vibe. It's just the whole like there's an edit with like the let him get up, fight back, and, like they just can't do anything because you're just getting jumped. Like that is the vibe I get from your party.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, there's really nothing anyone could do, because even if someone doesn't like, so many of us have weapons that trip on crit.
Yeah.
So it's so just dirty. It's terrible.
So mean. Though I will say, it has been 50 minutes. Do we want to talk about the subject?
Let's talk about the actual subject today. Hey, man, that's just Pathfinder.
True, it is. I just want to...
It's so good. It's like you can talk about any of the builds, and you're just like, oh, man, this is fucking sick.
There is a reason why, like, we've, we enjoy playing it so much. It's just a really well-made game.
It is. I feel like what Pathfinder does really well is gives player a sense of power and progression, rather than like some tabletop RPGs where the scaling makes it feel like no matter what you do, you don't necessarily get stronger. You do more damage, but the enemies can take more hits.
Yeah.
And
it's just like in a RPG where just everything scales around you, so it just feels like, oh, suddenly everything in the world is just hard to kill.
Yeah.
Not that I'm way cooler.
But yeah, let's talk about Kineticist and
Yeah.
the playtest results.
All good things inside. Tap the banner to learn more. Offer runs August 15th to October 8th.
And I'm very surprised because so many people had so much shit to say about Kineticist. But it turns out they got exactly 1,000 survey responses. I figured that number would have been way higher.
I would have too.
Design and the details. Our rings truly look gorgeous from every angle. With the largest selection in town, you can
And
to reflect your love.
and to be fair, Dayon, I mean, we're also like people who build characters first, build second.
It's the weird thing with Pathfinder is Pathfinder's one of the first times like a lot of us have cared about build. Like I will say that. I am a peak like fuck the build, I'm making a cool guy. But like I like build making in Pathfinder. There's something special about it.
Well, and something I'll also state as well. It's the eternal curse of tabletop where no one wants to hear about your character because it's just like everyone talks about their characters. I went to my buddy's wedding and literally I sat and talked next to this one girl talk about her D&D characters like the whole time during the dinner. And it's like, yeah, cool. Like I love tabletop too, don't get me wrong, but there's just something about talking about your own character that doesn't necessarily feel like it connects. When you talk about builds, anyone can pick up a build. Not everyone can play your character.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the center point of talking. But anyway, Kineticist. So this is very interesting. They said overall the class had good ratings, but was not top tier. What does that mean?
That's such like non-language of like people liked it, but it wasn't good.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what they're saying is like people are like overall a lot of people walked away happy with it. But we did realize that there wasn't as much hype generated for it as other classes. So there's pretty much saying it wasn't really that good, but people liked at least where they were going with it, which I agree with this the sentiment.
That was also, I think that's actually funny. That was fully my opinion. I stated on it during when we were going through it. I was like, this doesn't seem very good. I just really like it.
And they did make mention one common refrain though was that the damage was too low, especially on many of the overflow abilities. Yeah. So they do realize that the damage was lower than they were expecting. And another point they talk about complexity versus simplicity. They do want the class to feel good to play and easy to get into, but they did want to offer a level of complexity that makes it so that you can, you know, make a really unique character every time you play Kineticist.
Which honestly is I like that that attitude to take for making a class.
Yeah, and that's difficult, obviously, because the more you add to a class, the more inherently complex it becomes. And streamlining that to make it easier to get into makes it more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
They do know the damage was lower than they were expecting, especially with some of the costs with some of the impulses. So that's something they're looking to change. And now they're probably going to reduce the total number. Essentially, like a big part of everything here is they're going to reduce the amount of things Kineticists can do, but amp up the power of the few things they can do. Which I think is a good way to take it, because the point of the Kineticist is not to make a caster that just has infinite spell slots. They want to make it so that, yes, sure, Kineticist's flying ability is better than the fly spell. But the thing is, the Kineticist has to fully focus in its air tree to get that, while the wizard just has it in their spell book and can use it when or whenever they choose.
Yeah, like, it seems like the vibe they're going for, like, I think they talk about it, like, later on. It's like, fundamentally, we're aiming at the non-stop magic fantasy for this class. The Kineticist isn't meant to be about long-term resource management, which is them going into why they were using burn. But it's
Yeah.
like that style of like, yeah, you can do stuff more often. You don't have to deal with spell slots, but probably not going to be as powerful as a spell would be because you're not burning a resource for it.
Well, yeah, but now they're changing it. So now they're making it so that they're going to be more powerful, but the Kineticists just won't have as many options to do. The Kineticists who can fly all the time and can make their allies fly eventually. But it's that and a couple other things, and that's all they got. Well, the Wizard can do the same things, yes, but they also have all their other spells, and they cost them spell slots. So the Wizard inevitably will have more utility and more like versatility, but when the Kineticist is designed for something, it will do that one thing very, very well.
Yeah, that is very fair.
I think it'll be less 5e Warlock. I mean, I guess in some respects similar, but they're gonna make it so that they're gonna be different, because one of the big things about Kineticist, and something I'm excited for, is they're talking about how each of the individual gates have things they wanted to do very specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're going to remove some of the healing abilities from some of them, because like several of them had healing abilities. And they're going to make it so that each individual gate has a very clear design they're going for. And then players get to choose whether they will be a focus gate or a dual gate, so they can either take a mix, so they can either go heavy damage and healing, or they can go heavy damage and tanking.
Which is honestly, I think, a fair way to take this class.
Yeah, I think that's definitely what they should go for. They're going to be removing universal gate, so no more picking like from everything. And I think what they're really going to focus on is that when you pick up your impulse feats, they're going to be very impactful. But I think they're going to get less bonus feats overall for it. They might get a couple bonus feats. I think they might be like a fighter that can do like a couple bonus feats.
Yeah.
But overall, it's not like you have a Kineticist who's going to be able to pick and choose a bunch of powers to do a lot of things really, really well. They're going to be very focused. Like if you want to play a very free movement style Kineticist, you're going to pick air, and then you can mix that with a little bit of water. No, they were talking about, where did they put it? Because they did mention that specifically. That's under gates. Taking as a whole, we're currently leaning towards having a dedicated gate or dual gate option at first level, with class features later on that let a Kineticist either further specialize in an element they can channel or to expand into a new element. So more or less what they're doing with the future design is that they're going to allow Kineticists to have either a hyper specialization or a mixed specialization. And then later on, you can pick a feat to specialize wholly into one element, or at least one more than the other if you're a dual gate, or to open up to a third element or a second element at a much lesser degree. So it's kind of like how a lot of other classes that get similar features that allow you to kind of pick from like some of the other subclasses do, which is you get like some of their features, but you don't really get all the good stuff from it. That's pretty much what they're gonna go for.
Fair enough.
But they're definitely not like a universal starting out. They're gonna have one or two elements, and then if they go one element specifically, I think they'll get extra feats for it, or they'll get another feature later on that will allow them to get an extra element that they can pick from. So we'll have to see. Overall, it does look like the damage they're very much focused on. Elemental blasts are also something they're really leaning on, and they are thinking that they're going to make Con the source of damage for elemental blasts and some of the impulses as well as the kind of like the casting DC and spell attack using Con. So they're really making it where the Kineticist who focuses purely on Con will feel really, really good. Which I think is a really good idea for what they were going for.
I remember that was a thing that was brought up. Like, why is this Con? Like, what is the purpose for having this be the thing?
Well, yeah, because it didn't add to the damage or anything like that. And so they're going to be doing more things. And actually, so something that's really interesting that I'm very excited for is before they had the gathering of the element for like a lot of their impulses and how they use their kinetic blasts in general. And a lot of people was like, it's a reload tax that doesn't feel like it offers anything. So like, all right, so now when they do unload and need to like regather their elements, regathering the element takes an action still, but it also gives them additional benefits, which I think is really cool, because that means, like, say if you have the earth as one of your gates, when you regather an earth element, let's say it gives you temporary HP, so it's a reload that gives you temp HP.
Yeah, that's much better than just a pure reload.
Yeah, so it'll make reloading feel better while still giving that action tax so that they can give the Kineticist bigger abilities. Because that's also something I think is really important, is that if they are rewarded for the reload a little bit, you know, like temp HP, maybe a bonus to their next blast or something like that until the end of their next turn, something along those lines, it means that those impulses and those abilities that do consume their gathered element can be stronger because they need to be reloaded. A Con key scored martial class, that reminds me of the Vanguard, Nanosight, and Starfinder. Yeah, I mean, that's how they were in first edition Pathfinder. And again, as I said during the many videos for Kineticist, people just want Con as a key attribute for some reason. They just want it. They want it because it's there, and they can't do it right now.
Muscle Wizard.
It's not even Muscle Wizard. You're Beef Wizard or I don't know, something.
Yeah, but some flavor of that, but I'm on board.
You're Thick Wizard. There you go.
Yeah,
thick
there we
wizard.
go. Be a thick wizard. Let me attack my enemies with thick water as a water kineticist. That's how you fight. Like, for my spell, you must drink thick water and not gag. No,
Fort
please.
save.
Anything but that.
Oh.
It's fucking gross. I hate that.
I hate that you came up with that.
Yeah,
What's wrong with you?
I don't know. I just, thick wizard, and I'm like, thick water.
But yeah, so, they feel like the class lacked any clear direction in what role that the Kineticist was supposed to play. And I think that's very agreeable. I think that they made the Kineticist, and they're like, oh, you're going to have a grab bag to allow you to kind of play in the way you want to. But because of that, it's kind of like, I was talking with my roommate a lot recently, which was, the reason why Alchemist feels bad to people is because Alchemists have access to all alchemical items. At least that they can potentially, if they get the formulas, yada yada. But like they can, it's easy enough. At all times. So it doesn't matter if your whole alchemist build is designed around throwing bombs. You can still make greater elixirs of life if you're high enough to do so. You can still have really good healing on hand, even if all your feats are based around throwing bombs.
Yeah.
And it makes it so that classes that have too much flexibility can't shine in any one direction. It's also why people dislike heavily the wild shaping druid builds. Because when you wild shape into, any kind of shape form, you are not equal to most martials as far as like what you're capable of doing physically. But that's because despite being a shape-focused druid, you are also a full caster druid and still can cast like any other full caster.
Yeah.
But it feels bad for the people who want to focus on shapes because they want to be able to transform and be really good in melee combat. So it's things that, like, the game is so well balanced that sometimes the lack of like a mid-max style class makes it hard to do some things. So I definitely think that where the direction they're taking with Kineticist is they're going to remove more options. You're still going to be able to play, like, if you want to play a healer, a tank, or a DPS style Kineticist, you can do that. And you can also reduce your effectiveness a little in some areas to gain a little bit more in others. Like, if you go dual gate, you won't be able to pick up as much in either category, but you'll have moderate amounts in both.
Probably can't get those absolutely metal ass like final ability stuff, yeah. Which
Yeah.
I'm excited to see Kineticist ability names again. Those are so cool. It's like the best part.
I really love whoever was coming up with the names for a lot of their abilities. Like, I can't remember, it was like destroy the sun or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was so cool. God, yeah, no, that class was sick, but like could be stronger. But I was immediately like, I am on board. This shit slaps.
I also love how they brought this up. That the manipulate trait. They're saying a lot of people were complaining about having the manipulate trait on gathering their element because of attacks of opportunity. This isn't a factor in most combats. They're like, guys, you gotta calm down about this attack of opportunity thing. Most monsters won't have it, and it will barely come up.
Yeah,
When
it's
it
a
does come
5e
up,
thing.
when it does come up, it's annoying. Yes, fair, but it's so not that common that you don't need to worry about it. Though
Yeah,
they do recognize that in combats against monsters with attack of opportunity, it can make that encounter deadly in a hurry. So they do admit that when you do come up against those monsters, they kind of act as an inherent weakness to the class. The discussion about this reinforced that the inclusion of concentrate and manipulate on all impulses was carried forward for how spells work, and these aren't supposed to be just like spells. So it's likely that the final impulse designs will still have the concentrate trait, but will lack manipulate. And manipulate will only appear in certain impulses, which are essential to the action taking place in the story. So what that more or less is saying is they're going to leave manipulate on impulses that make sense narratively, and they'll probably also use it as a factor of like it's designed also as kind of a weakness, or like a making it so that if the character becomes restrained, for instance, they can't just blow up everyone around them just by thinking about it.
Yeah. It's fair.
So I think a lot, and I mean, this is just what everyone should have expected from the playtest rather than bitching about it, is just Paizo knows what they're doing. Paizo threw a lot of things out to see how they would work so that they could refine those elements later.
I mean,
And that's
yeah,
exactly what we're seeing.
Yeah, that's what you do with a playtest. You go a little far in a direction and see like if it works. That just makes sense. Like, yeah, no, it did seem like people were really treating this like this class is now a real thing that's being put in the game. It's like this is not what's going to be the final product. This is testing. Despite the fact that I talked very good about it, like No, I talked good about it because I'm excited for the actual fixed class.
Well, Phoenix, what we're saying is that's just stuff that should go into the surveys and not cause the community to start cannibalizing itself.
It feels like it was. I think it did feel like that. Some people were treating it like this was in the game now. Which, granted, yeah, you do want to complain about it in like official forum stuff of like this is a problem I see. Because then it's like, yeah, good. That's the point.
Yeah,
Not like,
the whole point is to
you?
complain about the things you don't like. Yes.
Yeah.
But complain about it in a constructive way. You know, don't get angry at other people because they don't necessarily agree with your opinion on it. They're not the ones making the game. Paizo is.
I thought the fun part was yelling at people who thought, "Oh, this class seems fun." It's like, no, because it's flawed in the playtest. Like, yeah, that's so normal.
And not only that, but it also what also it really showed was just how fundamentally different that some people play the game. Someone came up on one of my videos and was like, hey, I watched a lot of other people talk about it. I find it so interesting how some people hated it. Other people were kind of mixed, and you thought that they were strong. Because for me, when I look at a class and what it can do, I look at a lot of the things that apply to the game as a whole. Infinite Flight is inherently strong. For a lot of reasons. It allows you to get to areas you normally would be inaccessible. It allows you to get away from some dangers more easily. It allows you to spy. It allows you to do a lot of things very easily. And well, a lot of what I saw from it was a lot of abilities that, yes, and I said this a lot, Kineticist probably is not the strongest in combat. But its utility outside of combat is insane, depending on your build style. And other people are like, well, it doesn't matter because when combat comes down, your character is doing nothing. It's like, well, yes. But most of the game is not combat. Or if most of your game is combat, then you probably wouldn't be playing this class anyway. Just like you wouldn't be playing an alchemist.
Yeah, there were some really weird arguments about, like, that this class, like, it all kind of sounded like I don't like New Thing, and I'm going to come up with reasons to not like New Thing. Like when, you know, instead of pointing out, the playtest has some flaws because playtest. Some of it did feel like I'm just upset because it's, you know, not exactly a Pathfinder money thing. Or
yeah, exactly. That's also another thing. Someone I know personally who is kind of one of those neckbeard gamers, and personally, loosely, I knew them 10 plus years ago. Where they're like, but the original design was, it was the blaster. It should be the blaster. And it's just like, it should be whatever Paizo thinks will be funnest for its player group.
True. Like, it is, at the end of the day, like, Paizo's got a vision. I like this new vision.
And yeah, and seeing how they're planning on refining it, this whole thing, they have graphs and all kinds of things. They even have a magic item specifically for kineticists. Like, it shows that they really do know what they're talking about.
Yeah, it really, like, I think the vibe we gave, like, often was, like, during when we were going through playtest, was that it does feel like a few designers at Paizo, even like an author or two, really just liked this style, so put like a lot of effort into it. Like the whole style that this class has a lot of work put into it.
It does, yeah, for sure.
It does feel like someone's pet project that they finally get to publish, which I love to see.
I mean, yeah, and the thing is with Kineticist as well, it's going to be the largest class in the game because of how it's designed. It's just a class that inherently is just going to take more pages and going to need a lot more dedication than any other class would.
God, it was such a long PDF.
Yeah.
So long.
Yeah, I believe it was a Kineticist item.
It is like styled after the metal Kineticist. Though that, or at least it's aesthetically styled for them. Though it is, I guess this is a good question. Is the utility for Kineticist on par with a Wizard or Rogue? Would you say?
That's questionable because in some aspects, yes, but in other aspects, no. Like I said, Infinite Flight is inherently very strong, especially for the level they got it. And a lot of what the Kineticist did, which was allow the Kineticist to have some utility abilities, but infinites, which potentially could be more than a wizard could offer, but a wizard still has their whole spell book to offer anyway. And Rogue, I feel, is a very strange class to put. Because, well, yes, Rogue is really good because they get skill increases every level and get a lot of skill feats. True. Beyond that fact, they don't necessarily have a lot as far as like utility abilities. They can't manifest bridges, they can't fly, they can't do a lot of things. Rogue is just really good with skills, and so they're really good at skill checks, which are a big part of the game, and it does offer a good amount of utility, but I wouldn't compare a Rogue's utility to a Wizard's utility.
Crime do be useful though sometimes.
It does, yeah. It's true. Breaking into things, pickpocketing, all that other kind of stuff. It's all really, really good. I would say, depending on the Kineticist build, they had the opportunity to have a lot of utility. Here's a good example, right? Imagine you had a character that could create as a single action a gallon of water. That's not that crazy, right?
Yeah.
But what if they could do it infinitely?
Yeah. I mean, that part's pretty cool.
That turns the benefits of creating water, which is kind of like, okay, into the ability to create a flood by yourself. You have to spend a lot of time, sure, but like there's a lot of things you can do with that one ability because you can do it infinitely.
Yeah, it opens up the ideas and like the cool, some cool planning you could do. Like it opens up options with the stuff, something like that.
Yeah. So that's where the Kineticist kind of... My eyes are getting would worship a water Kineticist, yeah. That's kind of the thing with infinite spellcasting, which is what makes it strong, is when you can do something infinitely, it changes the dynamics of what that actually means. And so there was a lot of ways that I could see that the Kineticist could be really strong. And I don't disagree, again, with our idea that a Kineticist who focuses on the element of air and specializes in flight would, of course, be better than just a wizard who had it in their spellbook. I agree. Don't get me wrong. That's something that I don't necessarily disagree with. It was just all the other factors the Kineticist built into it made it so that they were also a martial class. They also had more HP. They also could do some other abilities infinitely that were kind of troublesome. That made them potentially really, really strong.
Yeah.
But I agree, they could not do very well in combat compared to most classes, which is fair. And I think they're going to tune this up a little bit. And I still think, like, if you're a Kineticist, you'll still, like, at level 8 be able to fly infinitely, which will be really strong. Especially because most enemies have no way of dealing with a flying character at that level.
Most characters can't even deal with flying enemies.
Yeah, that's true. Not that encounters can't be designed around that for sure. I don't think Infinite Flight breaks the game. It does not. No. In fact, many classes get it eventually. Or not many, a few, actually. Only a handful. But I think for when they get it, it'll be a very, very strong feature. And they're going to have stuff like that for all of them. Like I said, also with the ability to gain bonuses when they gather their element. I mean, heck, reload and take a free 5-foot step. Really good. Or reload, gain temp HP. Reload and gain extra damage on your next blast until the end of your next turn, you know. A lot of these things can make it so that reload action that they can get, which they would use frequently because all of their strongest abilities will be requiring them to reload afterwards, makes it so that the class, I think, will feel really, really fun.
I think so too. I also I don't know if they did this for the other stuff, like the other classes for the playtest. I really like the transparency on this. Of this is our intentions, this is the result we saw, this is the things we're taking stock of. Like, I think directly pointing out, hey, like, I understand why you're like freaking out about it, but the thing you're complaining about will not come into effect. Like, it's fine, don't worry.
Right.
Or the whole thing of like, this is the stuff we learned, and here's the stuff we're going to be doing moving forward. That is a good way to handle it. I highly respect that.
Yeah. Well, you know, and the thing is just Kineticist had a lot of weight behind it.
Yeah.
It was one of the most favored classes from first edition. So they had to worry about the impacts that would come from having that.
True.
And, you know, I mean, I'm just glad that it seems they've got it figured out and everything's working up. I can't wait to see what other classes they come out with. Kineticist, I think, will be really, really fun. I think it'll be perfect for players who wants a good damage dealer that also has some good utility mixed into it, or at least some good mixing of like, oh, you can go and be like a not as good fighter, but you can go really, really tanky and hard to kill, or you could be a really good fighter, but you have the ability to get a lot of extra utility outside of combat and all that other kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it'll be a really good class. I think it'll be a class that I would like better than some of the other classes that seem a lot more heavily focused on like just combat.
It's certainly a class I'm going to be looking at when it officially drops. I think I'm going to be enjoying it a whole lot.
Though I gotta say, there's not a single class I am not happy with in Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
I mean, as much as I give a lot of classes shit, a lot of it's just difference of aesthetic. It's not actual like problems with the mechanics. It's that I don't align with what champion does, or I don't like druids because I think nature magic's cringe. Like, it's not, there's nothing, or alchemist is too hard. Like, there's nothing in the rules that I think is like bad. I just don't like it.
I will say that alchemist just suffers from being a jack of all trades kind of class, which is its biggest downfall. Is it can do a lot of things, but it doesn't do any one thing particularly that well.
Yeah, it's just, you know, hard. Just like so many. I've tried reading through the rules to see what they do. I don't understand it.
Yeah. But I can't wait for the alchemist build video, because I'll do my best to make alchemist look really cool.
Oh, yeah.
They can be great tanks. Yeah, my party discovered that recently. They can be real good tanks.
Really, like if you give your alchemist a cool like cyber suit, yeah, they're real scary.
Well, I don't think necessarily, Definius, the alchemist has issues. It is pretty godlike at pre-buffing, that's true. Everyone can swig some potions before a fight and get really, really nutty.
Oh yeah, the potions, also just alchemy in 5e, or 2e itself is just dope.
It's really good.
I love the Drakenheart mutagen.
You know, every pixel, I actually agree. I think Alchemist really lacks from very flexible aesthetic design that makes it really hard to get invested in the class. Like, when you're working with other kind of classes, that have strong design, like druid, for instance, it can be really rough to make a druid that feels very different, but that gets solved by are the individual orders that make it so my druid's all about the waves and water, my druid's all about fires and managing that. My druid's all about the animals. Like, that's a good way to diversify it. But alchemist is like, are you a crazy scientist who works on bombs, a doctor who works on healing, or a doctor who works on poisons? It's like they all feel like you're just some nerd in a lab who's decided to go adventuring.
That is a good point. I think it's a very good point, honestly.
And I do think that really does play into a factor why a lot of people don't get as hyped about Alchemist, because it doesn't offer a lot, and even when it has special feats and everything and build paths that lead you in a certain way, it doesn't. Like, the biggest one that I feel like really benefits, I guess, Alchemist is the Mutagenist. Because the Mutagenist allows you to change your body, go Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and it has a lot of flavor that can be added to it. Everything else, you just feel like a lab coat adventure, I mean, people used to think that way kind of a little bit about Adventure, that Adventure was all like mad science, but like my recent build, the Steelwire Sentinel, showed that inventors can make really good martial characters that can do some really interesting builds and have some really good aesthetics. And definitely, yeah, that is true, because you can make infinite anti-plagues and anti-poisons or whatever. So you can just keep your party like resistant to those elements at all times. Those are super niche and not very common though, but you can technically do that. I just wish they just allow them to make infinite elixirs of life. It would have, would it have been strong? Yeah, but there's infinite healing in Pathfinder already.
Yes, give it to this other class.
And yeah, Alchemist can be a really good tank, actually, a very surprising tank, with the ability to to take Juggernaut Mutagen, which gives them a bunch of temp HP, and then the ability to metabolize mutagens, which allows them to get rid of the mutagen. So essentially, when Juggernaut is no longer, when your temp HP is gone, they can metabolize it, gain healing from that, and then drink another mutagen to gain temp HP again. Ooh. They become very strong.
Yeah, no, that's good.
It's really good. And you can still be his tank and still have all the other benefits of being an alchemist and throw bombs or whatever as well. I really wish alchemists got a... So the reason why a lot of people hate alchemists predominantly is for the fact simply that they never get higher than expert in melee weapons, including throwing bombs.
Oh yeah, that the throwing bomb part never made sense to me. Like, why would, if you're playing a bomber, why can't you get, master at bombing?
Yeah, and I think that alchemist should just do kind of what fighter does, only they just have a enhanced proficiency with throwing bombs, even if they don't get to legendary. I think just giving them that extra oomph would make them feel better.
Completely agree.
But alchemist is one of the first classes to come out, and like some of the other classes that initially came out, I feel like they are good, but might start seeming less optimal in comparison to some of the later things where they're really pushing design and they're really like on the cutting edge of making things interesting.
Yeah, where like it's always the deal with, as a game progresses, people you get a lot more interesting classes, or a lot of really cool design concepts. So then some of the older classes, you're like, oh, wish you had this. Whereas
Yeah,
just there feels like
Toodles.
some more care.
I agree. I think Treasure Vault will make alchemists feel better as well because there'll be more alchemical items. They're dedicating an entire chapter to alchemical items, which
Good.
is a passive buff to alchemists. So, but yeah, so it like with Kineticist and with a lot of the other classes, I recently someone came on to one of my videos and started talking about how they don't like Witch because Witch does nothing special unlike any of the other casters do or have to offer. They're just kind of like the all traditions wizard. And
Yeah.
it's like that's not how it is though. The Witch's hex cantrips are all really good. The special hex cantrips they can pick out through feats feel really good. And their connection with their familiar is very interesting and good for narrative. Are they just a spellcaster, kind of like any other spellcaster? Yeah, and they can feel that way. But a lot of the feats that they have access to specifically does feel good. But I agree that the class inherently doesn't seem to offer much difference when if you were like, okay, let's not take any other feats from Witch, let's take no feats from Witch. The Witch class doesn't seem to offer that much. Well, if you're a druid, you at least get your initial order power, and wizard gets access to like the arcane bond feature or whatever. And when you're a witch, you get your hex cantrip, and that's it. And it's not even like I think you also get access to a focus spell inherently. That is pet cache, which just saves your familiar if something bad happens. Which
Handy
is
for your familiar.
handy, but not like exciting.
Not really.
Not like Oracle, which if you didn't pick any Oracle feats, you'd still be playing an Oracle. So, but I think Witch does feel really good and does offer a lot, especially because Witch really gets very easy access to higher level familiars, specific familiars. And again, like one of my favorite abilities about Witch is their ability to just put a debuff on someone that they can't be resisted. Elemental Betrayal sucks because whenever that enemy takes any element and any damage with the element you specify, they take extra damage. And it's not a save. They can't get rid of it unless they have the ability to remove hexes.
Always just a mean thing to do. That's a super cool one. I do like that. Because Witch is one of those like classes where I'm like, seems cool, but like,
They definitely are not the most exciting on their own. Their feats definitely makes the difference.
Solid B- tier, in my opinion. As I put on my really accurate and well-made thing. Definitely not tossed there because it was empty.
Yeah, it's just.
I mean, yeah, no. I mean, I've played in a campaign with a Witch, and it was like, oh yeah, this is cool. You have some cool abilities. I don't think I'd play them, but I think there's some cool ideas there that I appreciate.
It's definitely not one of the classes I've been very excited for, other than taking some of their feats.
Yeah, no. I think that's like the vibe of it. I've heard that a lot. I know you recommended taking a feats from Witch as Magus.
Yeah, which has really good feats from Magus.
No, yeah. I looked into that after some recommendations, and yeah, I completely agree. If I was gonna yoink from any, I'd pick Witch.
But I definitely feel like Witch does still have a lot to offer. Specific familiars, especially, they're really just inherently good at it. Especially because, I mean, there is a wizard subclass that kind of does the same thing. Which feels kind of bad for Witch, honestly. But, even just the fact that they're essentially a wizard that can take from any tradition for spells, I think still offers quite a lot. When is the Kriegsman campaign, Glue Boy?
As much as I'd love to have the time for that. I'd love to be able to do that. I still think the idea we had for it, like, that's a super fun idea. I'd be super down I just, don't have time. I especially in the past like few weeks, my attention is being like dragged in more directions, and I have a
Yeah.
nice little tight schedule I've made. I'd
Well,
rather
yeah.
not break it.
I had someone on our Discord was like, "Hey, you interested in playing any games?" And I'm like, "My dude, my bro, I can't. I got no time."
Yeah, no.
It's just one of those things where, like, literally, after starting a channel dedicated to tabletop, I've played the least tabletop I have in my entire life.
I will say I've had somewhat of a different experience, though not for the same reason. I've realized like I took a big break from playing Warhammer, really even painting or anything. As I've been talking with the lore and stuff, I've been getting more into it. So I've actually been like hanging out at like the game shop and like painting more. Like I was literally painting today and playing again. And I'm like, man, maybe it's just like I just think I wasn't happy. Like I just wasn't in a good, like as great of a mood. No, it's been like because of my mood's been improving over the past few weeks. Now it's like, hey, Warhammer, the thing I like.
Don't
But,
get me wrong, I want to play
yeah.
more tabletop.
Oh yeah, no.
I
Also,
genuinely do.
granted, my workload is much lighter than yours.
Yeah.
I make one video a week, and to be fair, like I am really busy from like at least like what work wise, like Monday and like Tuesday. And, like that's pretty much it for like my schedule. I could fit another in there. I'd rather not, but I'm not going to do that right now.
You definitely shouldn't. I think you're at a
Yeah.
pretty optimal load.
Yeah, and like I'm at a workload where if something does happen or pops up in my life, or like me visiting home, I'm actually perfectly on track. It's not going to ruin my schedule at all. And I think that's the reason why some of my stuff's been like popping off a bit is because I've been, very consistent. All my videos have released at the same time, the same day.
Yeah. I've become less consistent because man, all the shit that's happened the last couple months.
You can't. It's hard to control that. Sadly, like
yeah.
That stuff happens.
I try to at least release some stuff every
Yeah.
once in a while, and I think only recently I haven't really released like anything. Though we still had our live streams in the week, so there's still like that presence. But
and there's still this, which Table Talk gets a good amount of like post the fact views.
yeah, well, to be fair, we didn't have a tabletop last week either.
That's true.
A lot.
No,
But,
yeah.
It's just one of those things. The algorithm has been brutal to me lately. I tell you, you miss time. All the work you've done, gone.
Yeah.
It's so brutal.
That's the thing I'm not looking forward to if I ever have to do that. Because like right now, my newest video on my channel, the Leagues of Votan, go give that a peek. It's doing all right. Usually though, I will say the videos like in the trends, my videos are growers, not showers. It usually takes like a day or two for them to start like steaming. Like day 2, they usually start popping off.
Yeah. To be fair, Warhammer definitely lacks a lot of content creators that are there trying to make it entertaining. There are some,
completely
don't
agree.
get me wrong.
I mean, I will happily alienate like some of the Warhammer, some of the creators, because I have no interest in ever talking to them because they're actual bad people. But like a lot of them are at the end of the day slideshow YouTubers, which while there are some that I love, looking at you, Pancreas Knotwork, I love you. But like they're all like different flavors of that. There's not many like out there, so I do think just on the basis I'm gonna have an easier time because green screen. There's only one guy who does something else similar, Bricky, but he only makes the occasional Warhammer video like that. Like once every few months, like a year, he makes one like that.
Yeah.
That's also just Bricky style, not even for how he does Warhammer stuff. I'm strictly doing that because I also like the format. I think it's a really entertaining to make format that isn't making me want to rip my hair out with how boring it is. Because that's I've thought about like, I could just do narration or pictures, and I'm like, that sounds agonizing. I would hate that.
Yeah,
So I like
my
little green screen
content.
jokes I can do.
my content recently, like, if you guys watch a video, please like it or something, because it really does help. It's something that, like, I hate to ask for.
I hate it too, but apparently it does
You have
help.
to.
I hate it, but it does.
Uh,
This should. I actually was about to joke. This should be the Alex show, but no, because I panic whenever I'm left alone with the Twitch chat.
that's true.
I get scared.
Alice cannot tolerate being alone.
It's scary. A Major Kill is one that, like, I see the appeal. Personally, I am not. I don't know. I don't find him like that entertaining. It's a pure personal style thing. I don't like. I personally. I just his comedy and I, like, we don't mesh. I don't laugh at a lot of his stuff. I like, of, like, humor wise, I do think of the slideshow Warhammer tubers, Pancreas Not Work, I think, is the funniest one. But that's because I align with his sense of humor more. That's all it is at the end of the day. It's no, like, quality content stuff. So, like, I've seen a few Major Kill stuff. He's also much bigger Lionel Johnson and Dark Angel simp than I am, and I think I think Lionel Johnson is mid. I think Dark Angels are pretty cool though.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where, like, one thing's, like, that I think I really want to start doing is having some discussion style videos on the
I
channel.
think it's a good idea. I remember you pitching that to me, or at least, like, telling me you were going to do that. I thought that's a really clever idea, because, like, that's something I think your style and just how you are in general is. I think you're suited to that. You're very much like the discussion aspect of it and having that. I am not. I could never do that because I mean, you know me. I'm a pure. I am right. Don't talk back to me. We're different people on that front. I'm very hard set in my views, as logically thought out as they are.
Yeah, I tend to be pretty flexible. I try my best to try to be open-minded to that kind of stuff, and I try to, like, not blind myself with certain opinions, because I definitely do think that I have some strong biases when it comes to playing tabletop, where I just can't see how some people play the game.
No, yeah,
absolutely.
That's fair. And I will say, at least, like, for posterity, I am very closed-minded on things that don't matter. If it actually matters in real life, that is tangible to, like, a person's human experience, I'm very open-minded. If it is something nerdy that does not matter because it's not real, I'm very closed-minded and I will not change my opinion. However, someone did make a good point in the comments on my videos that made me think Gilman's a little cooler, because he did beat up one of my least favorite Primarchs, and that does rank him up a little bit. He beat up Lorgar, and I appreciate that.
Double your savings, because every time you shop, you'll earn fuel points to help you save more at the
Cat cam, finally, cat cam.
We really do need to get a cat cam. But yeah,
I think so.
I definitely do want to start adding to the schedule a discussion style video or something that's just a little bit more. I've also been thinking really hard about what to do to make the channel really pop, and I think what the channel really lacks is really good entertainment value. The channel offers a lot of good information, and it also offers some entertainment value. Some people enjoy the way how I describe the classes or get excited for, like, how some of the archetypes work and everything like that. And there's a lot of people who enjoy the positivity that come around that. But the channel really does lack things that are just there just to be entertaining or just to be, like, really fun.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I've been talking about doing that kind of stuff for quite a while now. It's just really hard to find good formats or good structures for that kind of content where you can do it regularly.
That's also a hard thing just to, like, turn on. Like, hey, be funny now. Be funny. That's hard. It's hard to just, like, turn on, like, the entertainment, which also, granted, I think it's an interesting point because, like, I don't know, the style of content I fully, like, mostly enjoy and consume is like edutainment stuff like that, like stuff that's intended to teach you a thing rather than, like, whoa, check this out. I think it's an interesting point. It's not something I've thought of.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I also like watching Bricky, and I really love his content because he does offer really good edutainment. Actually.
Oh yeah, he's really good at it. The man's been doing it for a long time, and it shows. Like he's gotten very, very, very good at what he does. I respect him, and I did take some influence, and I work every fucking time I record a video to not rip his shit. I don't want to like to do that because the problem is Bricky and I just agree on a lot of things. Or I just think the same. So when he makes a point, I'm like, damn, I was gonna say that, but now I can't because everyone's gonna think I ripped it from him. When like, really, the only opinion we differ on is that I think the first half of the Caiaphas Cain book slaps and the second half's mid, and he thinks the opposite. That's the only time he said like a hot take that I've been like, I disagree. Only time. It is frustrating.
But yeah, so like definitely I want to do some more entertainment style stuff. I also do want to do some better like edutainment kind of stuff. I just don't know exactly how to blend those two sides of my brain together because there's a side of my brain that's very serious and takes the very logical, like measured approach. Like, even in the videos where I'm like, the class is so cool, it's so awesome, and get, like, super hyped about it, it's because I'm getting hyped about how things work together so well that it just pleases me. It's, I'm really bad at, like, mixing that with, like, actually, like how our dialogue goes sometimes, where I'm making fun of you, or we're just disagreeing on something, and... It's just, like, nothing I say I'm really mean sometimes. It's just for the sake of the laughs. Yeah. And I just can't blend those two sides of my brain. I just, for some reason, the
only way I found to do it is by finding a way to reframe something in a way that's goofy or that you can just make a joke out of. Like, because that's the thing I'm trying to do, is the vibe I want is, like, edutainment, as if you walked up to somebody, like your friend, and said, hey, what is this Warhammer thing anyways? This faction looks cool. Who are they? And I'm like, all right, let me explain it to you very casually. Like, the way I go to write it is, like, the conversations we've had in our Discord, like, late at night, where I've been in varying levels of sobriety, talking about, like, going through... The one that I think of is me going through the 18 Primarchs, like, teaching, like, Slug and Pooter that... where like that's the vibe I want, where it's like you just ask someone like that, and even then I'll frame things a little like not totally accurate because I want to make a joke, or I'll set something up. Like a joke I do like is the whole joke I made in the Dark Angels video, because fun little fact, Lionel Johnson, his name comes from, like, translates in the Caliban language to like Lion of the Woods, because the word Caliban word for forest or woods is a Johnson, and Caliban actually is a lot of, like, it's like a giant forest death world, so you could say that Caliban's famed for its massive Johnson and be pretty accurate. And I was like, that's a fun joke. I like that. You just gotta frame, like, you just gotta, like, lead up in the script writing process, like a weird joke.
Yeah, I mean, I also go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. We just it's like, I think it's a different style, like, too, at the end of the day. Like, it's different approaches to, like, the same thing. Because I think at the end of the day, we are making very similar content as such. Like, I'm taking inspiration from why this class is awesome, why this archetype's awesome. I like the intent of it. We just go around the same goal in different ways. And I think both styles have value, because, you know, I do sometimes envy your ability to, like, fully digest a thing and, like, be able to, like, point out, like, game design stuff with how solid something is. Meanwhile, I'm like, it does good damage. Like, I do envy the ability to take a lot of it seriously, because I feel like it'd be a little stronger if I did. But the problem is I can't fully care about Warhammer or Pathfinder because it's not real and I can't touch it.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Another thing though is I also want to make tabletop just look like a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because tabletop is one of those things that a lot of people thoroughly enjoy, but is the hardest thing in the world to make look fun.
True.
Like, the only reason why Critical Role or Dimension 20 make it look good is because the people there have so much charisma that they can make anything look fun.
Yeah, they've been doing theater and stuff for so long. Like they've been doing like that like style. They just transitioned to tabletop. Also, we cannot bring the Emperor being an AI meme to this chat. I'm not going to stand for that.
But there's just not a lot out there that really creates gamer envy for tabletop, actually.
True. It's really those two things. Like, it's Critical Role and Dimension 20. And then the thing is the fact that they're all, like, actors. Like, they are trained actors, and it's like, that's the way, at least the main method that everyone can see. Like, there probably is a second method, like, another way to do it that I'm really curious if, like, we can fully figure out, because I'd love to. I think it's a really fun challenge. Like, how can we give that gamer envy for tabletop without being trained actors?
Exactly, yes.
Like, what's the method?
That's the question. That's what I've been trying to hit on this whole time.
I think it's a really interesting challenge, and I'm like, I do like think about like how do we do this, and it's like it's so hard because it's like play the game better. Wait, that's Critical Role, or that's Dimension 20, where they just or you play the game better. You know what I mean? Like role play better, like as if you're acting.
Yeah, and I don't think that's the case because that's not even what people enjoy about the game. Actually, you know what I mean? They don't enjoy. Some people do enjoy the act of just being there and getting to fully get into character and love that. Mm-hmm. But that's not why most people who play tabletop actually thoroughly enjoy tabletop. What they enjoy about tabletop is the personal connection to the narrative that gets created through their character and the ability to live out those kind of fantasies.
Yeah, it's something so personal.
That's why I think the build videos have been really good and successful up until this point, because talking about the builds is actually something exciting. And I mean, we've had conversations where I was telling you, oh yeah, you can make a character that could do this, and you're like, oh man, that does sound really cool. And that's why I think the build videos have done really well. And the archetype videos are just really good because it shows people how things actually work and how they can be used. But I feel like what we really need to bring to the channel in general is this sense that playing tabletop is really fun, and the idea that like getting together, like something I've been trying to do recently, and it's hard. I've been trying to get people to get together to either like live in a bigger house or whatever, so that we could do skit content and stuff like that on tabletop stuff, and making tabletop just look fun and presenting it in a way that like isn't necessarily like also just inherently tabletop itself, but representations of tabletop. I've even thought of starting a TikTok.
Oh shit.
Recently, very recently.
You know what? Actually, the funniest thing about that, I feel like this is more of us being very similar in different ways. I also very recently, as in within the past few days, thought I should start a TikTok.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
The reason why I thought of it is I think a TikTok of me talking from the perspective of the GM, talking about the shenanigans that happen in the game, would be really interesting. Yeah. The most recent thing that happened in Riptide, right, is I just had a player who was kidnapped by a mad scientist alchemist, who's a really good cook, by the way, and delivered expert gourmet meals to him in prison, who tested and experimented on him, and the player got adamantine claws and now has an internal air sac.
I think you'd be able to like that style would suit you. Is the explaining the shit that we've done would be really fun. I think it's a great idea, and like you have so many fun stories you could do. Because you better talk about Ass Blaster on that TikTok.
Ass Blaster.
You better talk about that.
We have a lot of newer people here, so for
Yeah.
those who don't know the story of Ass Blaster, so this will be a good story to end.
Yeah.
end on. Is so the players have to assassinate this guy who's essentially pretending to be the false reincarnation of Christ in a game that doesn't have Christ. He's pretending to be that character. And he's brainwashing a village. Players gotta eliminate him. So what do? They put their gunner inside the porta potty to assassinate him when he's gotta do his business.
Yeah. And by when we say inside the porta potty, which big little thing, by the way, I was that person who would assassinate this guy. And when you hear inside the porta potty, you might think, oh, door opens, bang, like, oh, there he is, kill. No, inside, in the toilet part.
In the toilet part. So, he's inside the actual porta potty itself. Like, this guy's gonna sit down and not know that he's revealing his most vulnerable section to the assassin. It's the perfect setup, right?
Perfect crime.
And you know what? It goes mostly well. The guy comes in, starts to do his business. Our gunner, who, by the way, up until this point, was the most broken, damaged character in the party, to the point where most combats were left pretty much a non-issue.
Because, like, here's the thing. I was legitimately bringing a gun to a knife fight. I was a gunslinger who had magic guns.
A gunslinger in a fantasy world that, like, the best they had were 5-minute, like, Aquaribus style guns that required a bunch of setup. Yeah, this guy manifests and can shoot guns like anime characters can.
Yeah, no, I had two just essentially 1911s.
So what happens? He shoots this guy in the asshole. All right. He shoots this guy in the asshole and he rolls a bunch of damage. I'm like, okay, he's dead. And we were all laughing because it was super funny. This guy who had been a threat, he had brainwashed even one of the party members to try to get them to kill an innocent individual who is standing out. Like, this guy was hated, and he gets a smoker in the brown hole and gets blown out, and we're laughing hard. So what do? I'm like, all right, he's dead, but for shits and giggles, no pun intended, I'm going to roll the hit location, because Anima has a hit location where you can target most parts of a body. Like, they have like eyeballs, heart, stomach, feet, hands, all that kind of stuff. So we roll it. Of the 2% chance it happened, he shot this guy in the heart. So he shot this guy in the asshole and came out through his heart on the other side. And the story's not even done.
No, there's a lot more.
But we'll boil it down, no pun intended again, to the bodyguard who is there notices something's up. He goes in to check. The other character who is watching to make sure nothing bad happens sees this, is like, oh, well, time to step in. Goes in, shanks this guy, and now they're stuck inside of this porta potty with 2 bodies and poor Arthur down in the shithole. And the solution to not reveal themselves, this person had the ability to corrupt and melt people with rot.
Yeah.
So, poor Arthur had to wait there and get rained on by the rotted parts of bodies of the 2 people they just murdered until there was enough room for him to get out.
Yeah, it was quite the session.
And thus born the legend of Ass Blaster.
Yeah, it's really like, I don't, like, this is such a story for, like, one of my characters. Yeah, there's a lot more that
Yeah,
happened.
there's
after.
actually a lot
more.
That wasn't even the end of Arthur's shenanigans.
No,
that night.
that like getting chased while you're trying to bathe, and then there's a ghost congregation that if you look at they chase you. So I had to stand naked in a salt circle where all these ghosts left, like all that stuff. It was a session. It was a very good session, but yeah, God, it was a lot.
It was a lot, and
So I do feel like if you share some of these stories, you'll do very well on TikTok.
yeah, like honestly, just sitting down and doing a TikTok every once in a while of just talking about the crazy shenanigans. I might, I'll take a poll, not a poll per se. I don't want to do anything as official, especially right at the end of the stream. But I do want to know, like, as well. Do y'all want to see this as YouTube Shorts as well? Because we could do YouTube Shorts in addition to TikTok.
I mean, yeah, you could always do both. They're the same format, same restrictions. So, like, literally 2 videos, 2 platforms. You could totally.
My only issue with the YouTube Shorts thing is because one thing I like to do with a lot of the content creators I watch is I'll go to the videos tab to see what they've done recently. And I hate seeing all the YouTube Shorts on those because I don't like watching YouTube Shorts.
That is
a
fair.
lot of the time.
However, I will say, the algorithm right now, how the trend's going for this recent part or this recent year is really, it's really
In favor of
shorts.
YouTube trends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like as in I like the way I saw this was Ludwig did a big talk on this because he went to the big YouTube seminar thing recently, and the big thing they kept saying was do shorts, your audience will just skyrocket because you're doing shorts. Like that's just sadly the nature of the beast. So you probably will just have to do that.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking of, is going into YouTube Shorts and just using it as a platform for talking about the nonsense that gets into our games, and even better, as the GM, because you know what? I do honestly just dislike listening to people talk about their characters.
Yeah, do it as a DM. Also, I will say another avenue it could go down is something that also does very well on like TikTok, especially, which then can easily just be put on YouTube. Is the fact that TikTok makes it so easy to make video responses to stuff. So you get a really interesting tabletop question, you can immediately respond to it, and then immediately promoting more comments, which puts you in the algorithm better. It's like you can just there's a lot of methods that makes TikTok so good. I've been considering cutting down some of my stuff and finding for little bits I could put on TikTok because I know that also does well. It's a thing I've been struggling with because I don't like the idea of doing it, but I know that if I want to have serious growth, it's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat, and I just had the idea recently because I've also been playing a lot of RimWorld lately. Mm-hmm. And for those who are uninitiated into RimWorld's a fun colony management game that has an intelligent AI that's trying to set up a narrative for you by throwing random events at you. So some of the stuff that I've had to deal with is this person, one of my pawns, which are the little people in the game, just started lighting fires and accidentally lit some of the chem fuel in our storage base, causing the whole thing to explode because he was hitting on a married lady and she denied him. I managed to save everyone. He had horrible burns on his body, and we just got started, and then the poor man was hunted by a bear. And so I took the man and hit him in the barn so he wouldn't get killed, and then the bear changed targets because it could no longer target him and killed the husband of the girl that he was after.
Damn. I do like the description. RimWorld really is just Dwarf Fortress in space.
It is. It's there's so many ridiculously silly events that can happen just by pure circumstance. The game gets fun. And I was thinking about this and I was like, especially because my most recent villain has been a very interesting villain in Riptide. The guy is just insane. Mm-hmm. And the players don't know exactly that. They know they want to kill him because he's obviously bad and he's kind of like dunked on them. But at the same time, they're like, is he really that bad? Like, he goes and he gives all of the thugs that he has, he like cooks them dinner, and he's a genuinely nice guy. And up until he decides that killing you would be more efficient, and he plants bombs in people. But he's a really charismatic and nice guy other than that.
Yeah, what do you mean? It is personal. I do want to like take him out. I don't care if he's got a good idea. I want to take him out.
Well, to be fair, Dev Phoenix, I mean, so yeah, shorts, I think, are a bit of a toss-up in some regards. But you also have to look at the kind of shorts that people are producing and, like, what the value of those shorts are bringing.
And I will say they have been some of his highest performing stuff as of late. Like, so it's just the thing of like, I think being like player focused. Like, I think the attitude on this channel with how things are very like positioned for the players rather than like content for DMs, I think is what sets us apart, which would make it more appealing. So I do really think you would do great on like making that TikTok stuff. Like, you should 100% go for it, 100%.
Yeah,
and then make
so,
YouTube short because that's what the algorithm wants right now.
Yeah, and the best part is, like, there's no extra work really. I just got to upload them both, and they take no time to upload because it's like 15 seconds of content.
Little work
with
for
no
Master
editing.
Ward.
Sorry, what?
Little work for Master Ward.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll probably start doing some shorts. We'll probably start having some discussion style videos on the channel as well soon. I will still be keeping up with archetypes. I still intend to do all the archetypes eventually. There's a lot of them though. Though whenever a book comes out that releases a bunch of new archetypes, I will just binge a bunch of archetypes when that content comes out. Because one, that does really well. That's what happened with Dark Archive.
Yeah.
And two, it makes my life less hell because I can just catch up really fast.
Yeah.
And we'll still be doing the build videos as well, and whatever class videos come out. And I think that will be the balance of the channel for a long period after that. Is some discussion here. Obviously, we're still going to be looking into games every month. Oh yeah, another thing to end here, as we're past the end. This month we will be doing a Bloodborne one-shot where I'm going to be homebrewing some Pathfinder rules because Pathfinder rule already has some things I think will really work well for integrating into Bloodborne, especially with how trick weapons work in general. That already exists in Pathfinder in some degree.
Agreed.
So we're going to do a Bloodborne one-shot at the end of this month for Halloween. It may not necessarily be on Halloween, though Halloween is not necessarily a bad day for it. But we will be doing a Halloween episode sometime in the end of this month. I am going to first ask a bunch of my friends to do this as a fun friend-to-group event. But I may also reach out for other players who may want to join as well, as I've already gotten some requests from people who know that's coming up. So we're going to see how that's all going to go. Nothing is completely set in stone as far as how many players or exactly what's coming up. Cauliflower build, please. Hey, well, that's also another thing as well, as I will be homebrewing every player's build to work for the game to make it feel like it works really well. So players will be telling me what their weapons are, and I'll be inventing some stuff for that. But
I want to be part of the Hunter of Hunters.
You
I
want
want
to
to be like the Crow. I want to be like the best NPC, the Eileen the Crow.
Eileen, yeah.
I want to be like her. I like the Blades of Mercy. I like the Plague Doctor aesthetic. I want to do that.
Yeah. So we will be doing that at the end of this month. If you're interested in Bloodborne, you love Bloodborne, or you just want to see us play a very cool Eldritch horror Elizabethan style game, check us out at the end of the month. And I don't know, do you got anything to announce, Alex?
Main thing, there's a link to it. Cam's like a channel like for collaborators. I do make YouTube stuff. Give me a follow. if you like Warhammer, I actually am going to be unveiling a new kind of series this weekend. I'm going to be writing something. It's going to be okay. It's a different series, but for the nature of the first subject, it's also not going to be as that different from what I've been doing. It's just like one thing's more focused than the other. But yes, new series, new stuff I'm going to be sprinkling in throughout. I've had some fun like other subject ideas rather than faction overviews, so I'm going to be like writing that up. Subscribe if you wanna see some more Warhammer stuff.
Yeah, so if you're interested in Warhammer, check it out. You can see it in my collaborative channels at the bottom of the homepage on the channel. You know what we should also do at some point? We should make a link channel in the Discord. Well, but most of them will already be my subscribers if they're joining the Discord. So,
Most likely,
just for your channel.
Yeah, I mean, at most, I think what I could do is like, announce a video every once in a while. I just keep forgetting like that I could do that. I do it on Twitter because I know it's a thing that could help one day. That might help. But
actually, something that I just did today. We recently just made a self-advertising channel on the Discord. For people who want to self-advertise their content, the things they make, any products they want to do. You could put yours there and I could just pin it.
Yeah, no, you know what? I'll do that right now. I'll put my channel link in there.
But so yes, if anyone here has their own streams that they want to advertise, their own channels, or they are making products that show up on DM's Guild, Pathfinder Infinite, or whatever, we do have a channel for you. I will say, please keep all advertising to the advertising channel, as we don't want our general chat or other communal places on the channel to become flooded with people doing their own things.
Yeah.
So this is a good way that they can do that, and people who are interested can go there, and people who are not can just mute the self-advertising channel. So, yeah. But with that, I guess we're going to go ahead and say goodnight.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.